Hi, my name is Jordyn Birdsell, and I am a student at Pierce College. I'm doing this presentation for my management class, Current Trends in Human Resource Management, taught by Dr. Gerhardt. And to start off for this project, we had to conduct an interview with a human resource manager or director. So the information presented will be from the interview and my own additional research. I decided to interview Tricia Hooper, who is the Human Resource Director at Gateway Fellowship. Gateway Fellowship is a nonprofit company that operates as a church, daycare, and private Christian school. Mrs. Hooper is very knowledgeable about the human resource industry, possesses many years of experience, and it was a great opportunity to learn more from her. The first topic we discussed was HR issues and laws. When I asked Mrs. Hooper about which HR issues and laws affect her company the most, she responded that the Family and Medical Leave Act affects her company a great deal because of the number of families she works with, and she feels that as an HR director, it is important to show her employees that they are valuable and that their time is valuable. The Family and Medical Leave Act is enforced by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, but as an HR director, you should want to keep your employees aware of their rights. Another law Mrs. Hooper informed me about was the Washington Administrative Code. Since she works in the education industry, this code is extremely important for her to enforce because the Washington Administrative Code consists of the rules and regulations for preschools in Washington state. The consequences of not having your preschool up to this code can lead to fines, penalties, and even your preschool being shut down completely. Mrs. Hooper explained to me that she makes sure that these laws are taken care of by making sure her employees are aware of their rights as workers, and her company also provides extensive training and in-service days where additional training takes place, and during these in-service days they also go over all of the company's policies and regulations. And on a more personal level, Mrs. Hooper has weekly check-ins with her employees and treats training as the priority that it is. 10 behavioral job interview questions. Asking behavioral-based questions during an interview is extremely important and can give you a real insight into who someone is. When I asked Mrs. Hooper what questions are most common for her to ask, she responded with 6 questions. The first is scenario and situational type questions. She asked these types of questions by presenting a situation like a conflict between 2 kids. The kids are fighting, and what do you do? Ideally, you would want an answer that shows that the applicant can diffuse the situation, remain calm, and come up with a solution for the kids. Another question to ask would be, what do you expect of your directors? This is an important question to ask because you would want to make sure the applicant is fair and realistic. Ideally, they would want to be supported by the directors. The next 2 questions are similar, but both serve a different purpose. One is, why is it important for you to work at this company? And the other, what interests you? A satisfactory answer to those questions would be that they are passionate about education and or the ministry industry. Another question you could ask would be asking them about their short-term and or long-term goals. For these questions, you would want an answer that reflects that they are maybe trying to start a career in education and or ministry. The last question Mrs. Hooper presented is very specific to the industry of her company, and that is to ask if they have their STAR certification completed or any other certifications they may need for a specific position. Most of the positions at her company require them to be CPR certified, and she'll also ask them about their experience and education. I also found a few more behavioral-based questions from an article on balancecareers.com. The first being to ask your applicant about a time that they worked under pressure and how they handled it. Ideally, you would want them to answer that they were able to manage their time. Another question you could ask would be, how do you manage criticism and mistakes? Ideally, you'd want the applicant to answer that they manage both criticism and mistakes well, and that they can recognize that that is how you learn and better yourself. Another question would be, how well do you work on a team? A great answer to this question would be that they can still thrive while working on a team and increase productivity. The last question would be, how do you set your goals? And you would want an answer that shows that their goals are specific, timely, and measurable. 5 specific soft skills. The first 2 skills Mrs. Hooper discussed was having excellent listening skills and having the ability to hear the needs, wants, and concerns of your employees. The third skill she gave was flexibility, and she stressed the importance of being able to handle anything that comes your way, especially with working with kids. Every day is unpredictable, and you have to be able to adapt. The fourth skill she talked about was teamwork, because you have to be able to collaborate with your coworkers and help, and then this will help increase productivity and the respect you have for one another. I also read an article from the SHRM website that gives a different perspective to soft skills and also explains their importance. It describes soft skills as core cultural contribution skills and how important it is to possess these skills as an HR person and an employee. And it should be heavily considered during the interview process. Recognizing that soft skills can actually be some of the most difficult skills to learn and possess is important because some people will never really master them. Factors managers use in designing professional development plans for employees. Mrs. Hooper explained to me that at her company they have a corrective action personal improvement plan set in place. This plan is regulated by Mrs. Hooper, and the purpose of the plan is to keep employees accountable and act as an aid to getting them back on track after an employee acts in a way that doesn't align with the rules and ethics of the company. Employees are also given a verbal warning prior to this corrective plan. The first step of the plan is for a meeting to be set up in place, and any evidence of misconduct will be presented at the meeting, and then both Mrs. Hooper and the employee will go over an action plan that will be carried out over the next 30 days, and the employee will have to abide by the rules made in the action plan. And if they get to the 30 days, then everything can go back to how it was prior to the plan, but the corrective action plan will be put on the employee's record. So if a third offense were to happen, then the employee will be likely terminated given the circumstances. Mrs. Hooper explains that it is extremely important to stay as consistent and as possible with each employee to promote fairness and respect among everyone. In the Journal of Occupational and Organizational Psychology, I found an interesting take on how important the training and development of an employee is, and the psychology behind it. Essentially, everyone is different, and every employee will respond differently to different training methods and techniques. So by recognizing this, you can better cater to your employees. Training methods, or the main method and that the journal discussed was the method of using positive reinforcement and encouragement, and how it improved the overall quality of work produced by the employee. ADA and EEOC laws and regulations. When I asked Mrs. Hooper about her company's ADA and EEOC laws and regulations, she explained to me that they have a protocol in place to deal with accusations, where their human resource director will open an investigation to anything reported and gather all of the evidence and facts together to then make an informed decision with the director of operations and potentially other directors. They also have training that takes place for all of the other directors to help them navigate a negative situation like this, and so that they are prepared to handle any accusations that may be reported to them. Mrs. Hooper also mentioned that she has an open door policy and people are free to remain anonymous when reporting misconduct. And if any inappropriate behavior or misconduct was proven to occur, the employee responsible will be terminated. The policies and the laws and policies made up by the ADA and EEOC protect everyone against sexual harassment or discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, and or sex or sexual orientation. An ADA law and policy is reasonable accommodations must be made for employees with disabilities so that they have access to the resources and benefits of employment. Employees with disabilities should get to enjoy employment the same as an employee without disabilities. All employees and applicants with a disability are protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, and if any harassment or discrimination takes place involving an employee or applicant with disabilities, an investigation will take place by the HR manager, and if proven true, whoever is responsible for the discrimination will be terminated immediately. That behavior will not be tolerated whatsoever. And everyone is protected under the Civil Rights Act of 1964 against all discrimination. And at least with Mrs. Hooper's company, their company's policy with any accusations with discrimination or misconduct, if they're reported, the employee will undergo an investigation, and if discrimination or misconduct took place, the employee will be terminated immediately. Any act of discrimination will not be tolerated. And as for the Family and Medical Leave Act, all employees are protected to take unpaid leave for qualified medical and family reasons. All employees are protected under the Family and Medical Care Act of 1993, and any employee that needs to exercise this right will have their job protected, and FMLA will be honored to the full extent. Mrs. Hooper also explained to me that at her company, they offer paid FMLA leave, which a lot of companies don't. Job descriptions. When I asked Mrs. Hooper about job descriptions, she told me that they have a teaching matrix set up for their teaching positions, which just means they base it off of experience, and that she explained the difference. She also explained the difference between exempt and non-exempt employees, and that non-exempt employees can be paid either salary or hourly and can earn any amount weekly. Non-exempt employees are also entitled to overtime pay. On the other hand, exempt employees are not entitled to overtime pay and are required to earn a salary. When writing job descriptions, it's also important to be compliant with ADA and EEOC laws, meaning that job descriptions are made to show that anyone can enjoy the benefits of a particular job and of